Scott Lackman and welcome to the 450 TV podcast series, episode 6. Today we're talking to Ray Wood about work-life balance. Does it actually exist? Now our guest today, Ray Wood, is a real estate trainer, coach, marketing specialist, best-selling author, speaker, podcaster and entrepreneur. His area of expertise is working with real estate professionals to boost results and grow their personal brand through relationships, technology, innovation and some great marketing. He's also the founder at Best Agents, a real estate training and marketing group, founder of Locked On, co-founder of Locked On, a real estate software program, a co-founder of Jiggler.com, which is a creative marketing platform, and also a host and presenter of TopAgentsPlaybook.com, a podcast series for real estate agents around the world. Ray is a fourth-generation real estate agent and auctioneer from Melbourne, Australia, now living in Toronto, Canada, and he is also the best-selling author of How to Sell Your Home for More. More than 365,000 copies have been sold to date. So I've asked Ray to be our guest on 450 TV podcast series because we want to talk about work-life balance and does it actually exist. Ray Wood, are you on the line?
I am, Scott. How are you, buddy?
Good, mate. That's quite an intro for you, and just for our listeners.
I'm exhausted after listening to all of that. But a couple of things you did leave out. I'm about 6'4" and I've got plenty of hair.
Okay, well, I'm glad we're on the podcast series because there's no video here, and and maybe if our listeners want to look you up on Google, they'll see that image of you. Ray, I wanted to get you on, mate, because I want to completely put real estate on the shelf for the moment, and we want to talk about this work-life balance that we hear so often now. And part of our podcast series, we've touched on it briefly with the health and fitness side of things through Genesis, one of our local gyms. But I want to talk to you. You're a busy man. You live in Canada. You have businesses that are global, and you're always travelling. I then also see snippets of your private life where you share time between the snow and the lake. If I've missed out anything at the beginning, what else would you like to add to Ray Wood to introduce yourself?
No, I think you've covered off everything, Scotty. It's and I guess we get dealt a hand in life. My attitude on that is that we kind of make our own luck and you do what you can with what you have. I mean, I'm born in Melbourne, or born in the country actually, in Swan Hill. Lived in Melbourne for many years. I love Melbourne. I love Australia, but a number of things conspired, and I wanted to be with my kids. Long story short, which is why I ended up in Canada, probably on the East Coast, about as far as you can get from Australia without sort of, coming back the other way. It's a long way away. I head back in the morning. Actually, I'm in Sydney. Head back in the morning, and it's about, by the time when I get home, it'll be sort of 24 hours from go to work, 24 to 30. So it's I don't really enjoy that trip, but it is challenging, but. I guess my attitude is that you've got to do the best you can with what you've got. And I've been fortunate to, I probably couldn't have done this 20 years ago, Scotty. I need the technology that we have now to be able to communicate with my clients and work with the agents that I coach and make my contributions to the startups that I'm involved with. So I don't know. It's all a bit of a blur, I guess, the last 10 or 15 years, but it is what it is.
Yep. Now you've you've got some an international business, as we've said in the beginning. Probably my first question to get us down that line of what your life consists of with this work-life balance. How do you find yourself operating businesses between different global time zones?
Well, I guess. A company like Jiggler is we're in about 120 countries, which is exciting. We're about just coming up to 2 years old, so it's been a meteoric rise. And I guess just on Jiggler, I always wanted to have that kind of creative option for real estate agents to put something together without having to have a bachelor's degree in graphic design, and that's kind of where all of that came from. When I'm speaking with, 6 p.m. in Toronto is about 9 or 10 a.m. in Sydney. the next day. So I'm sort of conscious that my evenings for 4 days a week are like phone calls and meetings and stuff with a lot of my Australian clients and agents that I work with, even with Best Agents and with Locked On. So my role is probably more marketing. I'm the guy that writes the emails, that puts the emails together to help people learn more about our products and give them reasons why they need to try them out. My job is to grow the business, and that's kind of what I enjoy doing. I find they are long days, and I try to. I guess one of the tips that I would offer is that I try to keep relatively fit. I can't always go to the gym or ride my bike every day, especially in Toronto when it's cold and rainy. I don't enjoy that. But I do try to get to the gym and at least do something every day, because I find that does energise me. I learned long ago that if I do the things that I don't really like doing, which is including the gym, I love riding my bike, but like I said, you can't always do that. But if I get those things out of the way early, then that leaves my day to be a little less guilt-free, and I feel it gives me more energy as well.
Yep. So where you're working into the night in your time and daytime, let's say in Australia, are you then like having a sleep in? Are you starting later in your next day?
No, not really. No. I like to be I like to be on the tools by 7:30 or 8 a.m. I work out of a home office if I'm at home. I like to be up and going relatively fast. I mean, I love what I do. I find that if I'm sort of at the gym and back by 8 or 8:30, that's still a great time for me. My brain is fresh. If I need to sit down and write some email copy, or if I'm writing a book or whatever kind of creative thing I'm doing, I find that's when my brain is at its best. Mm-hmm. And sort of after lunch, 1 or 2 is probably like the same for everybody, I guess, a bit of a low energy time. So I might just take it easy, or take my dog Roxy for a bit of a walk for an hour. And then by the time 5 or 6 comes around, I've normally got calls booked and stuff. So yep. I guess when a lot of people are quitting for the day, yep. In my neck of the woods anyway, where I am, I'm sort of back on the tools for 3 or 4 hours. But that's kind of what I do. It's kind of what I've always done, and I do enjoy it. So I guess when you like what you do, it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, you've mentioned a few key points. Just with your energy, there is a mix there of exercise and diet to keep your energy levels up and about, especially when you're dealing between different global time zones. Ray, the biggest question, and I said at the start of the podcast, I hear the word work-life balance nearly every day, and I'm sure you yep. do with all your network as well. What do those 3 words mean to you? I don't subscribe to that theory. I know a lot of people do. For me personally, Scott, I think it's something of a myth, and that's just me. Like people say, you do need to do this and you need to have the balance and stuff. I find that we seem to work in, I sort of call it binging. If I have a project to do, if I need to sit down and get something done, I will, I'll put my head down for days at a time and knock it out, especially if you're writing, because if you're writing something that's a little bit longer and you need to, you can't go away and leave that for 4 days, because by the time you come back, you're just like, you've got no clue as to what you were talking about. So yep. that's the sort of thing where you just need to be continuous. So I guess I feel like I work in projects, and I'm pretty careful with my planning. If I'm planning something, I dedicate or allocate time to it. I can sit down and get into it. So I guess this whole idea about like having a daily must do this, must do that. Look, one of the great things about having our dog Roxy is that she does come up to me. If I haven't taken for a walk by 12 or 1 o'clock, she just comes up to my desk and just stands there. Mm-hmm. So she makes these little sort of grunting noises, which says that she wants to go for a walk. So that gets me out and about. But yeah, I guess, look, to a large extent, and I'm sure a lot of people listening to this would disagree, I think it's a matter
to a matter really of what works for you or what works for the individual. So I've learned to just go with the projects while they're there. Then you have some downtime.
Yeah, no, and I've got to agree, mate. Not just because you're a nice bloke, but I figure similar. The last couple of years where this has been a topic and it's come to fruition, particularly in business life, and there's quite a few maybe mindset coaches and business coaches. They're using the work-life balance now. I just think it comes back to fundamentals, a good diet, some regular exercise, and when we talk about work, well, when you're at work, and when you get home, you try to leave the work at the office and enjoy that home environment. And in my take of work-life balance, reiterates yours, is that I think it's if we work hard, whether it's Monday to Friday or Monday to Saturday for real estate agents, I just try to make the most out of that time that I've got outside of that work environment with family and friends, etc. And probably last week was a good example for me, a very busy time in local real estate for Caboolture, Queensland, and I think 70-odd sales or something in the last few months, which has created a really busy environment. But there was nothing better than getting home at 4 o'clock on Saturday, cracking a refreshment and knowing that I had a Sunday off to enjoy. And maybe that's not a good thing, that I was looking forward to that break. So was it saying to myself that, am I not getting enough breaks in between? And you start to go through this whole emotion of what is this balance that we're looking for. And I think it just comes back to what you've said. It suits the individuals. I know some successful agents or professionals in business where they do like work sprints. They'll work, say, 8 weeks solid, and then they'll have a couple of weeks holiday. They work 8 weeks, have a couple of weeks holiday. There's so many ways that you can find this balance, I think, Ray, and you've probably hit on the head that it does come back down to an individual thing and what you enjoy.
100%, Scott, and your business is you and your business. I think you are, correct me if I'm wrong, are you not the number one R&W franchise in the country at the moment? Or
we're going
close to it.
Yeah, we're going all right, mate. Plenty of sales, and groceries on the table next week, that's for sure. We're going really well, but that busy environment, it creates a lot of activity, and sometimes it creates stress, anxiety, and maybe thinking about the outcome of certain business deals rather than following the process, and we can get a bit off track with our mental focus when we're active like that, and that, I think that's when people scream out. Maybe too late, they hit a wall and they break before looking for this balance prior. Yeah.
Well, I was going to mention that talk about making your own luck with that kind of volume that you've got. That doesn't happen. I mean, you can't buy that online. So. Yeah. You've worked, you and your team, with your wife and your family, you guys have worked so hard to make that happen. You've harnessed your resources, and you have. I'm a country boy, and I'm sure people listening have tried to light a fire. It's a little bit cold and it's a little bit wet. Have you ever done that? You try to get the fire going, and once it reaches a certain amount of heat, the wood that might be a bit damp suddenly starts to combust and catch fire, and then you feed it and grow it, and before you know where you are, it's roaring away. And sales and momentum, and let's talk about real estate, and we've seen plenty of examples, and your fire is roaring at the moment because you've got this momentum, and you're such a visual presence that everybody can see what's going on, and that doesn't happen in a heartbeat. Like I said, you have to manufacture it, but you've also, it takes time to get to that point, and it takes a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of passion, and you've done that very, very well. Right back when you started, 4510 TV, you're interviewing. I think you're one of the first people to do it. That's how you got on my radar. That you were out there making other people a hero. In your videos, promoting them, so you were thinking differently. You were zigging where everybody else was zagging, and I think that's a little bit of a part of business as well. And a lot of people are scared to do that because they're worried about what other people in the industry might think, as opposed to saying, well, this is different, this is working for me, and I don't care what anybody else thinks because I'm just going to go ahead and do it. I've just had a couple of last week a couple of brilliant days with Garth McCoskey. Garth heads up an amazing Harcourts office in Campbelltown, just west of Sydney, and Garth is very big on, and this might be of interest to you. I'm not, you and I haven't discussed this in any depth, but he's very big on goal planning, and he keeps his written goals with him in his journal basically all the time, and looks at them every day because they're there in his journal. And he's got a track record for reaching so many of these goals that he's worked so hard to do. He splits them up into family goals. Another one is critical friendships, which is really interesting. It's an interesting topic all by itself, but he surrounds himself with the people that he wants to be with. His personal, like his fitness goals, fitness and health goals, family and financial. So I think when you've got a focus of what you're trying to do, and we only go around once, don't we? We're not. This is not a rehearsal. If you've got a vision for what you want to do, I find that really helps. Especially when times get a little bit tougher and you have some challenges, just to come back, revisit what's going on, take a look, and perhaps reorganise a little reset, reorganise your priorities, and look at what's important. If you're setting goals for your business, which I would imagine you probably do, it's pretty easy to see where your priorities lie because you've obviously been doing that and then reaching them and achieving them, and that is exciting, and it's a great, it's very, very fulfilling once that starts to happen.
Yeah, definitely. Just talking about Garth, you may or may not be able to answer, but when you're setting goals like that and bringing back the focus of the work, the life, the balance, does Garth reward himself once he reaches a certain goal or target?
Didn't get into that terribly much. I think as far like somebody with Garth's personality, reaching the goal probably is the reward, and that's what you focus on. I like the idea of people, for example, chunking something back to a day, and in real estate, what is there? Unless you're putting a deal together or you're doing a listing presentation, what's more important than prospecting? So then, okay, if prospecting's that important, then that needs to be a priority for us, say, and I prefer the AM, and also I love Saturdays because that's a day when a lot of people are home. So I think the satisfaction that I get is from, okay, that's all part of the little puzzle, that's all part of the whole goal that I'm trying to achieve, and my effort, even minutely down for one day, I've used that day successfully to contribute to that. I think so many people in real estate get frustrated. They spin their wheels. They even slide backwards sometimes financially because they're exhausted when they get home at 6 or 7 or whatever it might be, and we don't work regular hours in our business. They're exhausted, and at the end of the week, month, year, they don't have a lot to show for it because I think they get stuck in the thick of thin things and the priorities aren't where they need to be. And that's tough and that's difficult. And hey, I've been there. I know what it's like. At that point, I think you need to take a pretty solid look at what you're doing. And sometimes you might think you're doing something and you just got to keep at it, whereby the reality is, I think, if you're doing something and it's not getting you the results, you need to shift focus and look at the things that will get you results.
Yeah, most definitely. Where I was probably going with that, and you mentioned, like, let's say we keep on coming back to real estate because our 450 TV listeners would know that 450 TV is powered by Richardson Wrench as a community project, and we talk about my business as the host, etc. But you mentioned, for me personally, like if I know I'm having a late night, there's appointments, I need to go see some clients, say at night time. What I do try to do is then focus that maybe the following day or near to it, I might have a later start of the morning, maybe go see the grandson at school on his parade or drop them off at childcare or something. I try to supplement that little bit of family time. So if I'm out late at night, try to have a late start the next morning and do something family orientated, or at least have breakfast with the kids or something. And that's probably where I'm getting back to with this whole balance thing of when you talk about priorities and so forth. Not everyone has families, obviously, but I think if you're stretching your limits and burning the candle at both ends, we know what happens then. It spells disaster. But I think just one of my tips would be try to balance out that working week, and if it's later one night, maybe make it later the next morning. On to my next thing, mate. That's my little tip, one of, but I'm sure you've got some other tips for business professionals and business owners to find time for that unwind. Is there any apps or tech tools or anything that you're using to create some spare time or juggle your time?
Yeah, firstly, as part of my family goals is to always have a holiday planned or booked. I find the wonderful value of a vacation with your wife or your family or whatever it might be is that, yes, you're going to enjoy that vacation, but if that's 3, 4, 5 months ahead or whatever, you've got the added benefit of looking forward to it, and you know that you're working towards something, which I think is awesome. And that's so many people that I work with, like in my coaching business as well. I always make sure there's some vacays planned, even if they're shorter and on a budget, whatever they might be. But I just think then you can work toward that time, and that's when, because look, Scott, real estate consumes us. We don't. Every other professional, knocks off work at 5 o'clock on a Friday, pretty much. Our Saturday's our game day, and gosh, many people are working Sundays as well. So it is all consuming. One of the big time saving things that I've enjoyed using, and we use this between my partners at Best Agents and Locked On and Jiggler, is a little app called Voxer, Voxer, on my iPhone. And Voxer lets me record a quick message. Hey, Scott, how's it going? Looking forward to our interview on Friday, blah, 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 whatever it might be. And that quickly packages that up and sends it to you. So in this world where we are also time poor, if I have to text that or even dictate it, it's going to take me longer. So being able to send a personal message like that is a great time saver. There's an app that you can get for your phone that I know a lot of agents use because they can send the same thing but in video form, and you can do that with an app called BombBomb, and bomb.com. You can check it out. I know a lot of agents use that. It's very popular. Just as cool and innovative ways to connect. When I'm traveling, I use an app called Tripit, TRIPIT.com, which I'm a huge fan of. So when you book a hotel or an airfare anywhere, you get your receipt, which comes back to you via email. And then when I get that, I just send that to plans@tripit.com, and it automatically adds it to my schedule. I don't know how it does it, but I don't care. But it's brilliant. So that's a very popular little app that I love to use as well. So anything that helps me save a little bit of time, it's great. Even shopping. There's with Christine, my wife Christine, and I were okay. Well, we both have this app on our phone called Wunderlist, 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 and it lets us just add the shopping things in there. So when I hit the supermarket, I say, yeah, okay, I got to get olive oil, rolled oats, coffee, whatever it might be, and just makes life a little bit easier.
I'm glad you confirmed the spelling of Wunderlist, because I didn't want to know about Wunderlust between you and the wife.
Okay.
Different meaning.
No, it's very definitely Wunderlist.
Wunderlist.
Yeah.
All right.
That's the one.
Make sure we get that right. Ray, as I said at the start of the podcast, I really just wanted to catch you. You're a global entrepreneur. I know you're extremely busy between networking and dealing with people all around the world, and you mentioned Jiggler, one of your creative marketing platforms, now 180 countries, did you say?
120, yeah, we're in 120 countries. Wow. Now, there There are, I think I'm making it sound bigger than it is, but it is a global platform, and agents can jump in and do anything in it, which is wonderful. And the biggest, I guess, the biggest thank you I get is when I hear, and I get these in emails every day, how people are using it to win listings, and also save a lot of money in their creative. Creative design and graphic design is getting more and more expensive. But real estate is probably, I think it's more a matter of doing the things that actually work. So many of the templates that we create in Jiggler, I'm not meaning to turn this into a plug, but it is what it is. So many of the things that we do are actually tested and proven to work to help real estate agents. I mean, our job is pretty simple, really, when you think about it. All we need to do is get in front of more sellers and buyers. That's our business. If we were able to help people get a better result, then our job is to be able to connect with them and show them, at least get the opportunity to present and show them what we do. So I love the idea of helping agents, making them look different, making them stand out in their market, helping them win more listings and make more sales.
Excellent. Well, you've helped us today, 450 TV. Ray Wood, talking all things work-life balance. And for our listeners, thanks for tuning in. We'll have more episodes coming along the platform. And for today, just another wrap-up of that work-life balance for business professionals. Check out some of those apps, Voxer, BombBomb and Wunderlist. Get the spelling right on that one, Wunderlist. And again, Ray, thank you for your time. I'm sure this conversation is going to continue, and I'd probably finish just with that final one. Is I'm sure part of your coaching and speaking and even your podcast series, which is incredible, the Top Agents Playbook, over 150 odd episodes now on your platform. The biggest thing I'm sure you're reiterating is that you do need some sort of balance in your life for the ultimate success.
I think so. And Scotty, thank you for your time. It's been an absolute blast catching up, mate.
Okay. Well, take care. And episode 6 of the 450 TV podcast, we'll get that out across the channels, and hopefully some of your listeners and followers got to see a little bit of behind the scenes of Ray Wood, not talking all real estate and coaching. It was a little bit about Ray today, so that's what I wanted to feature. So thanks, mate, and we'll catch up on the next one.
Thanks, Scotty. Take care.